Texas Ford dealer to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Well, a great evening here in the great Pacific Northwest. Seattle, Washington, bright blue skies, gentle breezes, and comfortable temperatures. Before we get things underway here at Safeco Field, let's head down and check in with Emily Jones.
Well, Buzz, some big news breaking before the game this evening here in Seattle. The Rangers have acquired Mike Napoli, the first baseman from the Boston Red Sox, in exchange for a player to be named later and some cash. Everyone probably remembers Mike Napoli from the glory days of the World Series runs in 2010 and 11. He left after the 2012 season. Here's how Jeff Bannister views Mr. Napoli.
I'm sure it's going to bring some excitement to everybody around us to have a guy like that in uniform and to be able to play for us. And but we'll use him against left-handers. It'll be an opportunity to where we've struggled, where we haven't been as powerful, as consistent as we'd like to be against left-handers. And I'm guessing that he's going to add an extra punch in the lineup for us.
The Red Sox in Detroit tonight. Napoli was scratched from the lineup as the trade became official. He will hop aboard a plane tomorrow morning and perhaps could be in the lineup as early as tomorrow, as the Rangers will face a lefty here in Seattle. But it is game one here tonight from Safeco Field in the Emerald City. We will have the first pitch for you coming up right after this.
Seattle has taken the field. Now Tom's going to tell us about the Southwest Airlines Texas Rangers starting lineup.
Delano DeShields will lead off for the Rangers. Rougned Odor's batting second. Prince Fielder hits third. He's leading the American League in hitting with a .327 average. Adrian Beltre's batting fourth. Has not struck out in 46 straight plate appearances. Mitch Moreland is fifth. Josh Hamilton hits sixth, followed by Shin-Soo Choo, the right fielder. Elvis Andrus, .367 in his last 7 starts, hits eighth. And Bobby Wilson, 4 for 8 with 3 RBIs in his first 2 starts as a Ranger, will catch him bat ninth.
And that lineup for Jeff Bannister will be facing the 34-year-old right-hander Hisashi Iwakuma for the Mariners. 2-2 this year. Had some time on the disabled list. He had a pulled right lat muscle And he's just back off the disabled list about 7 starts ago. He's come back all the way. Apparently he's thrown the ball extremely well since. And he's been tough on the Rangers, especially here in Safeco. He is 2-0 against the Rangers this year and 3-1 lifetime in this ballpark. So Rangers have their hands full tonight, facing a guy that can dazzle you with the best of them. Iwakuma getting set to start things off against Delino DeShields. Rangers come in having won 7 out of 10 on the homestand. Rangers are 12-7 since the All-Star break. That's the 3rd best record in the American League. They have turned things around. First pitch of tonight's ball game to Delino DeShields is in for strike 1. Delino's average not as high as it was at the start of the homestand. It's 265, but he has been getting on base a lot of walks lately. He has the 6th most walks in the American League since the All-Star break. And that's not just on the Ranger Ball Club, that's overall. He has done an excellent job. That 363 on-base percentage will tell you how well he has ignited the Ranger offense. 2 balls and a strike now as Iwakuma is a bit low. Delino, no home runs, but he has driven in 20. Two and two now. Rangers this year against Seattle haven't had a whole lot of luck. They are 1-5 against the Mariners. 1-2 in this ballpark. Mariners swept the Rangers 3 games down at Arlington back in April. 2-2 pitch. Laid off the breaking ball. Good job there. The count has gone full.
Yeah, that's going to get most hitters to swing, especially a rookie. 2-2 after you've taken a couple of fastballs. That's pretty good to be able to lay off that slider.
Iwakuma to the wind, the payoff pitch. Got him swinging.
After a splitter instead.
That's a splitter. That's a pretty tough pitch. And Delino DeShields, don't feel bad, Delino. A lot of people have swung through that one. So 1 out. Let's take a look at the Mariners defense behind Iwakuma tonight. And this is a fairly good Mariner defense. 1 error for their first baseman, Logan Morrison, and 877 chances. That leads not only this league, but several others. Outfield of Trumbo, Jackson, and Cruz left, center, and right. Maybe a below-average outfield all the way around. It's for the corner men. Infield very solid as Rougned Odor takes strike 1. Odor at 268. Go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, DeShields took the 2-2 slider, and he hadn't seen a splitter. He had to be 100% sure that was a fastball when he swung at it.
Yeah.
It's just virtually not impossible, but it's very difficult to hit that pitch under those circumstances after seeing all those pitches and getting it for the first time, facing Iwakuma for the first time.
There's a big slow breaking ball that comes in. Yeah, and Iwakuma's a guy that doesn't walk anybody. He walked just about 1 per 9 innings last year, set an all-time Seattle mark. So even though he's able to throw that splitter for a strike at will, he just doesn't get behind very often. Chop and foul. Rougned, 8 home runs, 37 runs driven in. He has become a fixture right behind Delino DeShields at the top of that Ranger order. Iwakuma, the 34-year-old, in his 3rd full year with Seattle. That's out of play. I think this is his 4th full year. Forgotten he had 30 games, mostly out of the bullpen in 2012. And he became a starter full-time in 2013 and 14, and of course this year also. 1-2 pitch.
Yeah, it's almost like the Mariners didn't know what they had when they signed him from Japan, or he had a very bad spring training, because he started the 2012 season in the bullpen, and it wasn't until maybe midway or a little bit more through the season that they put him in the rotation. And since that time, he's 39-21 as a starter.
In tight, Odor taking that close, but for ball 2. Yeah, I think you're right, Don. If I remember right, they did it because of an injury that they had. I've forgotten who it was that missed a few starts. Iwakuma, kind of a spur of the moment decision at that point in time. It's turned out pretty well for him. Tried that comeback fastball and couldn't get the inside corner. So Second straight hitter now that Iwakuma has gone to a full count. Odor hitting second in the order, trying to get aboard in front of the DH, Prince Fielder. Payoff pitch once again. Up the middle, a base hit into center field. That looked like a splitter that time stayed up.
Yeah, Delino got one that nosedived right at the end. Rubned got one that stayed up about belt high, and he was able to drive it into the outfield for a base hit. So 2 batters. Iwakuma's thrown 15 pitches already.
Odor on with 1 out to start the Ranger offense here in the first inning. Here's Prince Fielder, a .327 average. And Miguel Cabrera, who's been on the disabled list for better than a month now, finally dropped off the leader charts because of lack of plate appearances. So Prince now the leading hitter average-wise in the American League, that .327 mark. Chopper slowly hit Morrison at first. He will take the out as Fielder gets tagged on to second. Goes Rubned Odor, and on 1 pitch, Prince Fielder is out number 2. Now that'll leave it up to Adrian Beltre now if the Rangers are to score here in the first inning. Adrian coming to the plate. Played 5 years here in Seattle. Signed a big free agent contract after a booming year with the Dodgers. Came up here in 5 years. Really didn't find the environment and climate conducive to his best statistical years. Played well, hit well, but not up to the Adrian Beltre that we've seen in a Ranger uniform or in a Red Sox uniform. 1 ball, no strikes. Beltre at the moment hitting at .267, 46 straight plate appearances without a strikeout. That's the longest active streak in the major leagues. 1-0 pitch to him. That is in for a strike.
Well, it's one thing if you're a certain type of hitter to have that kind of a streak, but when you look at Adrian is not necessarily a discerning hitter. He will swing at any kind of pitch with almost any location, and he swings as hard as he can, and he still doesn't strike out. I mean, you would think the pitches he swings at and the way he swings would lead to strikeouts, but it doesn't.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Lets it go.
Yeah, he lets it go.
Adrian back in now, down in the count at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Rubned Odor out at second base. 2 away here in the top of the first inning. Iwakuma, a couple of looks at Odor, now back to the plate. Foul back. Rangers 1 game over 500. They are at 54 and 53. Jeff Bannister's ball club. 3rd in the AL West. They are 5.5 games as they start play tonight behind the Houston Astros. 3 games back to the Los Angeles Angels, and that's important because that's in the or 2.5 back. I'm sorry, of the Angels. Angels have the top wild card spot at the moment, and that is a big part of the race for the final third of the season. Another 1-2 is coming to Beltre. Iwakuma stopped halfway through his motion. His time was called. That's a dangerous thing. Home plate umpire Toby Bastner calling time. Not that it was dangerous for the umpire to call it, but for Iwakuma to stop his motion. Go ahead and throw the ball. Iwakuma back up on top now, getting ready for another 1-2 pitch. Beltre, a line drive to left, coming on Trumbull, and he got a good jump and makes the catch shoulder high. Adrian's bid for a base hit a little bit too hard. Rangers get a hit, strand a runner. After a half inning of play, Rangers nothing. Mariners coming up. lineup.
They'll lead off with Ketel Marte at shortstop. Kyle Seager's batting second. Nelly Cruz, fourth in average, second in home runs in the American League, bats third. Cano bats fourth, .337 hitter in July. Jesus Montero, the DH, followed by Austin Jackson. Mark Trumbo is the left fielder. Got off to a terrible start, but he's hit .341 in the last month. Logan Morrison bats eighth, and Mike Zunino, the catcher, bats ninth.
And that lineup is facing the 31-year-old left-hander from San Diego, Cole Hamels. Hamels making his second American League start. And fires a knee-high strike to Marte. It is 1-1. Our progressive scouting report. Tonight's start, getting back to work now as an American League starter, getting down to work. He's gotten all the bumps out of the way as far as coming over to a new team, a new league. Fly ball to right field, playable for Chu. That is out number one. He'll try to have a little better command of his fastball. Between starts, Cole worked a lot on his mechanics to get that command a little more consistent. And most importantly, from last time out anyway, his curveball. Did not have good command of the curveball at all. Didn't have a feel for it, apparently. And that's something he worked very diligently on. And that's the kind of thing every pitcher goes through. Spurts during the season where you don't have command of a breaking ball or you don't have a good feel for it, and you have to make adjustments, and Cole certainly has been able to do that. Well, one gone here in the bottom of the first. Kyle Seager takes a fastball for strike one.
Two of the first three fastballs have been 95 miles an hour, so he's working on command, working on his velocity too. He's throwing hard tonight early in the game, first three pitches.
You get up here in a little bit cooler weather, and all of a sudden you feel invigorated. Hard hit. That's a base hit for Seager into right field. So Seager, who has better numbers against left-handed pitchers than he does against right-handed pitchers, has a one-out single off of Cole Hamels.
Against the Giants, left-hand hitters were 4 for 9 against Cole with a home run. That pitch kind of right in Seager's wheelhouse, right on the inside half of the plate. Seager, a .330 hitter against the Rangers. So every time he gets a hit, it's not a surprise. It's just more of the same.
A 1 on, 1 out, and here is a very familiar figure of Nelson Cruz. Now he's second in the American League with 31 home runs. He is hitting .324. And he pops up the first pitch. Beltre coming down the line. Bobby Wilson with the mask off makes the catch. And that is a very large out. And that's not any reflection on Nelson Cruz. That is a reflection on one pitch and one away. The Ranger defense delivered to you by New Braunfels Convention and Visitors Bureau. Ranger outfield, Hamilton, DeShields, and Chu. And this Ranger defense has turned 106 double plays this year. That's third in the American League. Good infield of Andrews and Odor up the middle. Moreland and Beltre at the corners with Bobby Wilson behind the plate, who you saw handle that towering pop-up. No, Seager's still at first. Go ahead, Tom.
That was one you're fortunate that Nelly Cruz got underneath that one and popped it up. He was ready for the fastball, had a good swing at it. He wasn't taken. He was up there ripping.
Apparently he's had a pretty good swing at a lot of fastballs this year. He has gone completely crazy, has Nelly Cruz. Robinson Cano has been swinging the bat very well, especially since he and Nelly Cruz flip-flop places in the order. Once Cano went down to fourth, about the time of the All-Star break, as a matter of fact. That batting average after the All-Star break at .338 for Cano, just .251 prior. One ball and one strike. Now Cano counted on to be a mainstay of this Mariner club. Brought him over a year before last with that intention, and found out that Robinson couldn't do it all by himself. He had to have some people surrounding him. That was one of the reasons that they went out and got Nelson Cruz. They brought in Mark Trumbo. Good breaking ball. Cano way out in front of it. 1-2. Now Cole Hamels, after that start last time, this is his second start since throwing a no-hitter against the Chicago Cubs, his last start in the National League. There goes Seager. The pitch is low, And Bobby Wilson can't get the handle on Seager into the stolen base. Fourth stolen base for Kyle Seager this year. Bobby Wilson making sure, dropping down to both knees, that ball did not get behind him. Give Seager an opportunity to go further than second. And it also removed any chance of picking it and trying to throw him out. 2-2 pitch. Got him swinging. Down and in at 96. And Hamels gets the strikeout. Mariners gone in the first. No runs ahead, one left. We've played one in Seattle. We are scoreless. Just use hashtag Southwest Data Strong Fan, and you just might see yourself in one of our upcoming broadcasts. And that's all brought to you by the good folks at T-Mobile. Mitch Moreland beginning the Rangers' second inning. Mitch takes the off-speed pitch for strike one. Moreland had a two-hit game on Wednesday. Mitch now up to 287. He's turning things around after a bit of a lull offensively. 0-1 pitch. That's out of play. 0-2. Mitch now has reached safely, I should say, in 9 consecutive starts. Last 11 games, he's hit .333. Not much luck against Iwakuma. It's that 190 average for Mitch, 4 for 21. 0-2 pitch coming. Iwakuma will cut the fastball. He'll tail it away from left-handers into right-handers. Make the ball sit up and do tricks. Of course, that good split-fingered fastball that he features. Mitch on the homestand went 8 for 26 in the 10 ball games. 273 mark. 1-2. In the last 11 games, 7 walks for Mitch. So being a little bit discerning along with getting his base hits. Just able to get a piece of that. The splitter again that kind of stayed up for him. Still 1-2. Iwakuma out for the better part of 2 months. Big reason why the Mariners pitching staff had been in a bit of disarray. We saw the stats before the game. The average ERA was up 10th. Field down at third, no swing, 2-2. Starting staff missing Iwakuma, one of their mainstays. And Felix Hernandez has certainly done his normal fine job, but the bullpen kind of caught the heat for that because the starters were not going very deep into the ball games without Iwakuma. Two hopper out to Cano. That is out number one. Well, Mitch retired. Next will be Josh Hamilton. And I think Ranger fans can go back the last couple of years and find spots where the starters didn't get deep into ball games and how quickly the bullpen kind of fell apart or got overused anyway. That's a common theme around baseball. Cole Hamels, one of the guys that can make sure that bullpen has easy time of it in his game. Hamilton at 244, 5 home runs, 17 driven in. Has a home run against Iwakuma, one of his 2 career hits against the right-hander that left the yard. 1 ball and 1 strike. Josh trying to get the consistency back. You mentioned the other day that was one of the things that I guess frustrated him more than anything else. And some days I come to the ballpark and everything is right, and I expect it the next day and it's not there. So I don't have any idea why that is, but it's certainly difficult to deal with. Against the Mariners over the years, had pretty good success. Not even swinging here. Iwakuma gets a strikeout, and there are 2 gone for Shin-Soo Choo.
You got Josh to chase that splitter 3 straight times in that at bat out of the strike zone. Yeah, there's a pretty good chance he's going to see that pitch every time up until he lays off it. It's playing right into Iwakuma's hand. The more you swing at it, the less it'll be a strike. The more it'll be out of the strike zone.
Did you ever face anybody that had a good split-fingered fastball?
I don't think many guys threw split-fingered pitches back then.
Not many did. That is where I remember Bruce Sutter was one of the first that called it something other than a forkball.
I faced him one time, and it's a great pitch.
Yeah. Does it look just like a fastball coming out of his hand?
His spun just like a fastball. And you go to swing at it, you think you're right on it. It's going about 88 miles an hour. And you just swung and missed at it. You couldn't figure out how you missed it. And you go back and watch a video of it, and you say, oh, there it's sunk 6 inches below my bat. But yeah, you could know his pitch was coming, and you still couldn't hit it.
Choo fouls it out of play to the left, and the count remains 0 balls, 2 strikes. Shin-Soo a 239 average, but 14 home runs and 50 RBI. 50 RBI. 3rd on the ball club behind Fielder and Moreland. This is where it all began for Shin-Soo Choo. Came up with the Mariners. Never was able to get it together for himself here in Seattle. Went over to Cleveland, and that's where it all came together. He became an excellent outfielder and hitter, hitting anywhere from 1st to 5th in the lineup. High on base guy, high on base percentage guy. Home runs, stolen bases. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You can see Choo's getting the same pitches that Josh got, but Choo's able to lay off of that pitch. And for the most part, the other hitters have too. And Josh has been susceptible to that kind of a pitch. And it's just a matter of being able to read the pitch, react to it, and be able to take it. So those 2 pitches 4 and 5 were both splitters, both out of the strike zone. Choo was able to lay off both of them. And they hit the one that stayed up.
Lines one into the left field corner. That's extra bases. Choo at second will hang on as Trumbo gets the ball back in. And, well, that's a nice job of hitting by Shin-Soo Choo.
Yeah, the key, it's pretty obvious. The key is don't swing at the one that starts out about at your knees because it's going to drop below your knees and out of the strike zone. And if it's about belt high, that's the one to hit. It's going to drop right out over the plate into the good hitter zone. Choo goes the other way with that pitch. The 1-0 door hit was the same thing, a splitter that stayed up. If it's up above the knees, it's a pretty easy pitch to hit. It's the one that's generally out of the strike zone that the swings and misses come at.
Well, the second Ranger hit, second time they've had a runner at second base. 2 outs. Elvis Andrus, the shortstop, now will come up. Elvis has been driving in some runs lately, and he's also been hitting line drives all over the ballpark. Strike one. Elvis has hit safely in 13 of his last 15 ball games. And a .333 clip. Not much luck against Iwakuma. 30 at bats now and just 6 base hits. Trying to pick up Chu. A scoreless ball game here on the top of the second. Nothing in 2. Elvis in his last 7 games has been a .379 hitter. Home run, 3 driven in. He's had 11 RBI in his last 20 games. And it'd be a nice time for him to add 1 more to that total. Iwakuma, a couple of looks at Chu at second. Out of play, down the right side. We'll try it again. Elvis on the just completed homestand went 13 for 40. It's a .325 average. And that doesn't count the number of line drives he hit at people. They were a significant number. Had 3 doubles, 5 RBI in those 10 ball games. Iwakuma set. Another 0-2 pitch. He did not go. The appeal down to first, and Iasonia said no, he didn't go. 1-2. The Elvis shaking. He said, no, I didn't. Trying to influence whoever was looking. Next pitch to Andrus. Off the end of the bat. Cued over the Mariner dugout on the first base side.
Iwakuma's thrown a lot of strikes. He's also thrown a lot of pitches. Thrown 43 pitches in the second inning. 30 of them have been strikes. Started off with about 15 pitches to DeShields and Odor to start the game.
Well, Elvis trying to make him pay for that heavy work. Pop foul, that will reach the seats. Well, Iwakuma came back into the starting rotation back on the 6th of July. And since then, he's had a couple of games, too, where he's thrown over 100 pitches. But both those got him through 7 and 8 innings. He's worked just about half of his allotment here in the first 2. Another 1-2 pitch. And shot foul by Elvis. Rangers winners of 4 straight ball games. They have had 3 other 4-win streaks. Only one longer. That was the 7-game streak they put together in the tail end of May. You heard Jeff Bannister talk on the last homestand. He said, I still believe this team has another big run in it. Check swing it. Got Elvis. Hit him, looked like on the back arm.
He started his swing not anticipating having to get out of the way of the ball, and never was able to get out of the way of the ball. He gets ready to swing. I hit him in the right rib cage.
Yeah, I got him on his forearm first.
First forearm.
Yeah.
That's one where having to get out of the way just didn't enter into the equation. Most of the pitches were down, a lot of them were away, and all of a sudden one comes in out of nowhere. You're not ready for it.
So the Rangers now runners at first and second with 2 outs. And Bobby Wilson, the number 9 man, will step to the plate. Wilson, those are his overall numbers, a 190 mark. 7 RBI. With the Rangers, however, he's gone 4 for 8. That's a .500 average with 3 of those 7 runs driven in. Well, Wilson and Chris Jimenez have done a whale of a job. And Wilson just pulls it foul for strike 1. Wilson hitting .500 and Jimenez hitting .333.
Yeah, and they're not just getting their hits, they're knocking in some runs.
Yeah.
Chris had a base hit and a stolen base that keyed the 3-run rally in a 4-3 win against the Astros. Then he had a home run in another close game. Bobby had a 2-run hit, another base hit to drive in runs. They've had some timely hits as well.
The 0-1 from Iwakuma. Nothing in 2 now. Chu out at second base. Elvis Andrus at first. Defense, maybe a step to the left against Bobby Wilson. Iwakuma coming back to the plate. To left field, Trumbo coming on toward the line. Dives, he can't get it. It's down for a hit. Chu scores. Elvis being waved around third. He will score. There's a double by Bobby Wilson. Driving in 2, and the Rangers take a 2-0 lead.
Bobby's got 5 hits, and he's driven in 5 runs with those 5 hits. Good job right there. Iwakuma had thrown him a good slider away that he missed. This pitch never gets as far away as Iwakuma wanted it. It kind of hangs up out over the plate. He hits it just out of Trumbo's reach. Trumbo chose to dive for it. And that fact allowed Elvis to come all the way from first base and score. And it goes as a 2-run double for Bobby.
Mark Trumbo almost put a face plant on himself out there. Goodness gracious. Good effort, but Rangers on top 2-0. Now back to the top of the order for Delino DeShields. 0-1. DeShields went down swinging at a 3-2 pitch his first time. Rangers doing something very important for Cole Hamels. That's given him an early lead. He has some spectacular career numbers when he gets 3 or more runs and when he gets the early lead. I'll tell you about those when he heads back out to the mound.
Yeah, Iwakuma had 2 quick outs in this inning. 2 outs and nobody on. Double, hit by pitch, and a double.
0-2 now to DeShields. Delino, as we mentioned, getting on base. The 11 walks since the All-Star break, 6th in the American League. 8 walks in his last 8 ball games. He's looking for the base hit here. Cano on to first. That'll do it. But some 2-out damage. 2 hits and a hit batter go to 2 runs for the Rangers. They strand 1 after an inning and a half. Rangers 2, Mariners nothing. is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your Texas Ford dealer now to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. The Rangers out to a 2-0 lead after an inning and a half. Mariners come to bat here in the bottom of the second. Jesus Montero, the designated hitter, leads off against Cole Hamels. And Montero takes inside for ball one. Montero up and down, the one-time catching prodigy that the Mariners got from the Yankees. They thought he would solve all their catching difficulties for the next 15 years or so, and it just didn't work out very well. Montero up and down starting year before last, and really has struggled, but he's back now and swinging the bat extremely well, and there's one of his strong suits. Able to hit the ball the other way with authority. He's on with a leadoff single.
Yeah, that was a big trade. Top position player for a top pitching prospect, Michael Pineda. Montero kind of played his way out of favor here. He was overweight. They didn't think he worked very hard. Sent him to the minor leagues a couple of times. Well, maybe he's seen the light now. He's having a big minor league season. Looks a little slimmer than he used to be, so maybe he's getting with the program.
Montero aboard with nobody out. Austin Jackson, the product of Denton Ryan High School. Austin 2 for 7 in his career against Hamels. 253 the average. 6 home runs, 29 driven in. Going to try to bunt, and he bunts it foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. I'll tell you about Cole Hamels when he gets some early run support. Dating back to last year, Hamels is 12-1 in 21 starts when he gets at least 3 runs of support. Over his career, he's had 296 starts now, including this one. He's received 3 or more runs of support in 157 of them, so more than half. He is 101-15 when that happens. It's a winning percentage of 87%. That's baseball's equivalent of Money in the Bank. Two and two to Jackson. Got him swinging.
Just went right after him. Fastball's been pretty much featuring 95 miles an hour today.
2 strikeouts for Hamels, 1 gone. Mark Trumbo coming up. Folks, on Tuesday, August 25th, Rangers will feature a throwback giveaway. The first 15,000 fans age 14 and older will get a Giovanni Gallardo powder blue t-shirt thanks to Dr. Pepper, Albertsons, and Tom Thumb. Visit TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS to secure your seats.
I've seen a lot of Ranger fans already in the stands. We want to acknowledge some that we know are here. Mike and Laura Phillips are here from Oklahoma City, big Ranger fans for the last 30 years. The Wanicka family, Mark, Ann, Hayden, season ticket customers back in Arlington. In fact, they sit right next to the cookie lady, Shirley Coast, at the ball games. Saw them at the hotel today. Calhoun family from Dallas. They're the ones, Buzz, we have to thank for the treats from the Piroshki Bakery that they sent up. Supplied a lot of pleasure for all the guys up here in our booth.
Kidding.
Thank you to the Calhoun family.
Double play grounder. Elvis recovers in time to get it to Odor, who turns it. 6-4-3, and that takes care of the leadoff single. Nothing going for the Mariners. Nobody left. We'll head to the 3rd inning. Rangers on top by a pair.
Top of the third here at Safeco Field in Seattle, and I am now in one of the unique vantage points here at Safeco. It's called the Pen, also fondly known by fans here as the Beer Gardens, and it has a bit of a nightclub feel. There is a DJ back behind me. There's some dancing going on. I'm not exactly sure how much baseball is actually being watched out here. I can tell you it's a good time. I can see the field from where I'm standing, but like I said, a lot going on here, so I'm not exactly sure how much baseball is being watched, but a good time nonetheless here in the Pen at Safeco, guys.
All right, Ed, thank you. Take it easy out there now.
It looks like a nightclub where the women are outnumbered about 10-1 by the guys, too.
The odds aren't good. The odds aren't good out here for the ladies, I'll say that.
Rougned Odor, who singled his first time up, leading off the Ranger third. He's now down in the count after a couple of foul balls, no balls, and 2 strikes.
One thing, I guess, I'm trying to figure out why he's thrown so many pitches. He's only thrown 14 balls and 40 strikes. He must be fouling a lot of them off, I guess.
A lot of foul balls, yeah.
There's 3 in this at bat. Elvis fouled 4 or 5 off. He just worked his pitch count up to 55 pitches here beginning of the third inning.
Well, he had back-to-back 3-2 counts in the first inning to both DeShields and Odor.
Yeah, that was 15 of them right there.
And the fielder swung at the first pitch, and
yeah.
Adrian had a little bit longer at bat. But
go,
Odor
go.
And
run. Oh, he can't.
No.
I thought he missed it. Swung and missed, and I guess it hit his foot, didn't it?
Hit his foot, yeah. Yeah. So that's the strikeout. Third strikeout for Iwakuma.
That looked like one of those fortunate swings and misses at a wild pitch where you get to first base, but there it was. It hit his back foot. That's kind of a sheepish grin. He's a little bit embarrassed he swung at that pitch.
Not a bad idea if it doesn't hit you.
Yeah, he has to go a long way to duplicate the one Mateo swung at in Boston.
That's true.
Pedro came inside with a high fastball, hit him right in the chest, and he swung at it.
Yeah. That'd cost you a lot in the kangaroo court, wouldn't it?
It almost cost him a couple of days in the hospital.
Yeah, after all, it was Pedro.
Man.
Bridge fielder up there. Count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Fielder tapped out to first. His first time up. It's out of play on the third base side. The count moves to a ball and 2 strikes.
I want to finish our shout outs to Ranger fans. Here's a group of 5 women who go around every year to visit as many parks as they can. Cindy, Christy, Kim, Carrie, and Donna. They're here in Seattle to visit their 19th park. And I know we've mentioned them before. Well, a ways to go, but they're making a pretty good dent in seeing all the major league ballparks.
Morrison underhanding to Iwakuma, covering 2 up, 2 away. And before Adrian Beltre comes up, we're going to send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you.
Well, as you talk about another team that seems to have been energized by a couple of trades, that would be Toronto.
Yep.
They're playing like the Rangers are playing. They acquired Troy Tulowitzki, David Price, deadline deals. They look like the team to beat. Haven't lost since Tulowitzki out there.
Adrian, a little chopper. Iwakuma off balance throw. Nice play by the right-hander. And the Rangers, for the first time tonight, gone in 1-2-3 fashion. After 2.5, it remains the Rangers 2, the Mariners nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. on the Rangers. It's a 7:05 game. And the first 10,000 fans, 14 and older, receive one of 4 different Star Wars themed t-shirts. That's courtesy of Takis. Fans will also enjoy appearances that evening from the Star Wars characters out on the concourse. Just visit TexasRangers.com to purchase your tickets, or as always, you can call 972-RANGERS. Well, Cole Hamels used 23 pitches to work the first 2 innings. He's out there now sporting a 2-0 lead, working to Logan Morrison. And Hamels renewing old acquaintances. They faced each other quite a few times in the National League. Morrison 8 for 21, as you can see, against Cole. It's a 381 mark. The 1-1 pitch coming. Right center field. That is trouble. It is down and going to the wall. Chu plays the carry. Morrison will stop at second with a ringing leadoff double.
Well, Morrison's 17 for his last 118. He was hitting 144 for those 100+ at bats. He gets a high cutter maybe out over the plate. Ripped that ball in the gap. Didn't look like a 140 hitter on that swing. His pitch location might have helped him out a little bit too.
No, the third Mariner hit of the night. 2 singles, now a double. Mike Zunino, number 9 hitter. The catcher takes low and outside for ball 1. Zunino hitting just 175. Has 10 home runs, 26 driven in. Hamels to the plate. 1-1. Zunino striking out about a third of the time when he comes to the plate. He's going to have to hit a lot of home runs to make up for that.
Yeah, he only had 360 at bats in the minor leagues before they called him up. He was very high draft choice, college player. Thought he was big league ready. He's definitely big league ready behind the plate. He's done a nice job defensively, but offensively, trying to hit above 200 at 199 last year. It's less than that this year.
And that was kind of the fallout of the Montero thing for them. Montero was supposed to kind of fill the gap, and Zunino was going to be a backup plan. But when Montero's thing fell through so quickly, they had to rush Zunino. 2-2 now.
He's definitely geared up to hit the fastball, and he does have some power. At 22 home runs last year. You make a mistake with your fastball, you can hit it a long way.
Bobby Wilson flashing the signs out. Cole Hamels agrees. Got him swinging.
And all changeups.
Well, Hamels, an important strikeout. That's his 3rd of the night, but that's as big as having a strikeout with a man at 3rd and less than 2 out. Hit that leadoff man at 2nd.
Look at the pitches, Buzz. You see number 1 over to the left. Every other pitch was right on top of each other. 3 straight changeups, the exact same location, and 3 swings and misses.
I guess he figured one of those had to be a fastball sometime.
Yeah, that was a similar at bat that Josh had against Iwakuma.
Right.
And both Josh and Zunino probably going to see the same pitches until they lay off it.
Well, back to the top of the Mariner order. Ketel Marte, young shortstop, who just called up the 1st of August by the Mariners. Marte, a fly ball to right, his first time up there. Morrison, his lead from second. Hamels checks him. 1 ball and 1 strike. Marte made his major league debut July 31st. Started at second base. Took an 0 for in that ball game. Had his first major league hit the next day. On August the 1st, it was an infield single against the Minnesota Twins. Two balls and 2 strikes. Hamels okays the sign, a check of Morrison at second. Slowly hit to third. Beltre, bare hands, throws, not in time. On to third goes Morrison. Marte with the infield single. And the Mariners now runners at the corners for Kyle Seager and 1 out.
A beautiful play by Adrian. He just didn't have enough time. Playing back a little bit. Marte hit it softly. You can see where Adrian's playing, well behind the bag on that pitch. Ball's right down the line. Beautiful play. Something on the throw and accurately. And Marte was able to beat it.
Kyle Seager with runners at first and third. Seager had a base hit in the first inning. Solid single to right field. Ranger infield now up at double play dead. That means Odor and Andrus a couple of steps in and shifted over to the right a couple of steps for Seager. 1 ball, no strikes. Seager, of course, against the Rangers, just a terror. Not as much in this ballpark as he is in Globe Life Park in Arlington, but still hitting over 300 in this park against the Rangers. Chops that one foul at home plate. Maybe it won't be quite as bad because Cole Hamels doesn't know that he's done that, or hasn't been a part of that. But on the other hand, it may not make a difference.
Yeah, right now I haven't seen anything making a difference with it. Although I'd like to see him hit that same ground ball just as hard, but maybe to hit this one at second base. I have a pretty good feeling he's going to make some contact.
1-1. Now 2-1. Seager in his career a .330 average against Ranger pitching. That covers 72 ball games. In this ballpark, though, .318. In Arlington, a little bit different, .340. Here are the career numbers. And they've got him picked off. If the throw gets there in time, it does. Nice job by Mitch Moreland, and now it's going to be called a balk. Third base umpire Dale Scott threw his hands up in the air. He saw Cole Hamels try and change as Marte took off for second. And Dale Scott saying he did not make a definitive throw or a definitive step toward first base. Yeah. Hamels knew it right there, too.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to say, man, that's the best pickoff move I ever. He just waited until he went and then he picked him off. That's why he was able to do it.
So the balk scores Logan Morrison. It's now a 2-1 Ranger lead. Marte to second base. And Seager a swing and a miss on the slow curveball. Now, left-handers have the advantage because they're facing the runner. And they also have the disadvantage because they're facing the runner. Sometimes you can hang that leg up there and say, well, I may or may not. And the indecision that time caught Cole. Got him swinging. Pretty good sequence of pitches there to Seager. Fourth strikeout for Hamels, 2 gone for Nelson Cruz.
He threw in some tough pitches. It looked like a changeup down and in. Nothing good to hit. Everything right around the plate, but nothing good to hit.
Now Cruz up there fouled out on the first pitch that he saw from Hamels. Fouled out to Bobby Wilson, the catcher. You got first base open, even though you had Robinson Cano in the on-deck circle. I would think Cole would be relatively careful here to the guy with 31 home runs.
And Nelly's hit almost 400 over the last month. He's hitting close to 400 against left-handed pitchers.
1-1. With a 16-game hitting streak, our Ford leaderboard showing you Nelson Cruz, the longest going in Major League Baseball. Nick Markakis of the Braves next at 13. Good fastball right at the knees on the outside corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Cruz not only the second spot in home runs, but also 8th in RBI in the American League, 67. Out of play on the right side, and the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. Cruz, of course, with the Rangers until last year. Went over to Baltimore. Had a great year for the Orioles. Signed a big free agent contract here with the Mariners in the offseason. 4-year deal. And he has produced a .431 average during that 16-game streak with 10 home runs. He had another 5-game consecutive home run streak. Pretty good rip at that, fouled it back.
97 miles an hour with that fastball.
And Bobby Wilson going to go out and ask Cole Hamels what he's thinking. I'm thinking about getting off this mound is what I'm thinking. The question is, how do we do it? Another 2-2 pitch. Hamels working all around the periphery of that strike zone. Cruz back in there, hitting out of that familiar wide open stance. Got him swinging. And the tag put on by Bobby Wilson, and that will do it. 3 strikeouts the inning, but Mariners get on the board. They get a run on 2 hits and leave 1. After 3, it's the Rangers 2 and the Mariners 1. By Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Mazda. In every car we make, you'll see why driving matters. Top of the 4th inning, and Mitch Moreland leading things off for the Rangers. Hisashi Iwakuma deals strike 1. Moreland, a ground ball to second, his first time up there. Rangers 2 runs on 3 hits. Mariners 1 run on 4 hits. Pitch. Pretty good rip at that pitch that stayed up for him, and he's now down in the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Moreland tied with Prince Fielder for the Ranger lead with 16 home runs. Moreland coming into play tonight was the 7th best hitter average-wise on the road in the American League. Prior to the ball game tonight, it was a .307 average away from Arlington. Tapper foul. It remains 1-2. Which also has the 9th best average against right-handed pitching in the American League at .301. Iwakuma back to the plate. Up the middle by Cano. Went into a slide hoping that ball would come up, and it didn't. And Moreland on with a leadoff single.
That was a hard hit ball. It just kind of was a skimmer right along the ground. Didn't take any big hops. Cano got to the ball, it looked like. Thought he might be able to make that backhand, but went right underneath his glove. You see him lift his glove up. He did expect that hot buzz. Just stayed right underneath it. Good at bat for Mitch. Behind in the count. Now see if Josh can lay off the splitter down and out of the strike zone.
He saw 3 of them, or he swung at 3 of them his first time up. This one he hits to left field, and Trumbo got all crossed up as that ball sliced back to his right. It's off his glove and in, and the Rangers have their first 2 men aboard here in the 4th inning.
That was a splitter, but that one stayed up high enough for Josh to get part of the bat on it off the end. The ball looked like it had some slicing action to it. Cued it right off the end of the bat. Trumbo playing fairly deep. Looks like he gets to the ball. Kind of a circular route. Tries to backhand it. And the ball looked like he closed his glove before the ball was in his glove. Hit off the back of his fingers.
Now the official score here has given Josh a base hit. Well, that's 1 for Hamilton tonight. 2 aboard, a pair of singles, nobody out. Shin-Soo Choo doubled into the corner in left field his first time up. 1 ball, no strikes. Choo coming off a very good homestand that saw him go 9 for 29. That's a .310 mark. Had 6 RBI in that 10-game homestand. Trying to pick up Moreland and possibly Hamilton. Ground ball to first. Morrison goes to second. They get 1. No throw back to first.
Yeah, that's a nice play by Morrison. Never occurred to me he was going to try to go to second with that ball. High bouncer. Took some time to get to him. But like Mitch Moreland, he's got a strong arm. He was able to gun it to second base, keep a double play in order, get one of the lead runners. Nice play.
Well, runners at the corners, and Jeff Bannister now is going to head out and talk to the second base umpire. It's Lance Barrett. Now, it'd be interesting because the neighborhood play is not reviewable if it's in the process of making a double play and if it's an accurate throw.
Right.
And I'm going to assume when it's a force play only, and you know, by rule, if that throw
kind of pulled him off a little bit,
so that should be reviewable.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that replay right there would indicate that it's going to be challenged and overturned. Rangers have gotten things back on the right track with the challenges of late. They have had half the challenges result in an overturned call. 4 out of the last 8. And this one, even though it was a good play by Morrison, and Marte coming off that bag, he just gets the ball. So Joey Probinski spotted that upstairs in the replay room, the video room, and
that's going to be an interesting one.
It will be. It will be. On the headsets back to Replay Command Center in New York. Dale Scott, the crew chief, and Lance Barrett, the second base umpire, who made that call. So we will see what they say from New York. And I'm going to assume it's a Rangers challenge right now and not just an umpire's review.
They're thinking about it.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they are. Lance Barrett, kind of a moment for him. What are they saying up there?
The fans can't tell by looking at the scoreboard. They've shown it several times. His foot's definitely off the bag.
Yeah. And part of what they may be discussing is whether that is a reviewable play or not, because of the way it's set up. But again, I'm not sure. The neighborhood play, if it's part of a double play, is not reviewable, and that's where the second baseman or shortstop catching the ball around the bag, whether he's in contact with the bag when he catches it, if he's going to make a double play, that's not reviewable.
Right. If
the throw pulls him off the bag at all, if it was a wild throw, that would be reviewable. But is this? Do you have to go ahead and try and make a double play for it to be the neighborhood play?
I don't know. Sure. I don't know. By the length of this discussion, I'm not sure the umpires are exactly positive.
I would say that may be one of the things they're talking about to folks in New York.
Yeah, you got a good explanation of it. I don't know.
And Dale Scott talking to him about it. Yeah, Lance Barrett saying a few words. So pretty big discussion going on.
Pretty big play too.
Yeah.
First and third and one out, or bases loaded, nobody out. It's a huge call for both teams.
And not quite ready to have a decision definitively given yet.
Might be calling for help. Polling the audience. Call a friend.
Well, let's see. It's 11:20 back in New York. So it'd be too late to call the commissioner if you had to go that high. Yeah, Josh Hamilton.
This is our longest one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Seems like we had one that took almost 4 minutes before that was complicated.
This, I think, would tell you that he was off the base. It's just a matter of, like you say, is it reviewable?
Right.
Because if he was on the base, they wouldn't even be taking this much time.
That's correct. And out at second base. And
here's the explanation.
Yeah, he's going to explain to Jeff Bannister. So it'll be interesting to see what the explanation is. Jeff, not completely convinced, and it must not. The only thing I can think of, it must not matter whether you continue to make the double play throw or not. If it's not a bad throw, then that's considered a neighborhood play.
Yeah, and I guess technically he could have kept his foot on the bag and caught the ball.
Yeah.
It wasn't that wild of a throw, but it was borderline.
And Jeff, as you can imagine, not real thrilled with the explanation, but that's what it is, and that's what a replay comes down to sometimes, a nebulous ruling like that.
Well, they studied it, they thought about it, they made their call, and they explained it. That's all you can ask for.
That's exactly right. And we get the word from New York. It was a non-reviewable play was the upshot of it. So it must not make any difference whether you try and make the throw onto first to complete a double play. It's a neighborhood play, and you can't review that. So first and third with one out. Here's Elvis. And takes the first pitch off the plate for ball one. Don't forget now, in situations like this, the Rangers have shown the inclination to maybe try and push a bunt out towards second base. More or less a safety squeeze. But Moreland at third, not the fastest base runner. Iwakuma, a check. And Elvis. Towering fly ball to right. That's probably not going to be deep enough. Cruz coming on. Moreland bluffs the move down toward home, but Cruz with a very good arm. Not always most accurate, but a very good arm. That's out number two. Elvis not able to get it deeply enough for Moreland to take a chance.
Yeah, that's one as the third base coach, you know the right fielder has a strong arm. You can't assume that he's going to make a wild throw. That throws anywhere near the plate. The runner's out by 10 feet. Well, we got Bobby RBI Wilson up there right now. Seems like every time he comes up with a man on base, he strokes the ball into the outfield. See if he can do it again.
Well, his season average now up over 200, 203, 9 RBI. He has 2 in his first at bat. In the dirt all the way to the backstop. Here comes Moreland. He will score on the wild pitch, and the Rangers have a 3-1 lead.
Well, that hurts if you're a Mariner. Looked like Iwakuma might be able to pitch out of the jam. First and second, nobody out. First and third, and one out. Gets the pop up to right field. 1 out to go, and he uncorks a splitter about a foot outside and 2 feet in front of home plate. Zunino tried to backhand it, wasn't able to backhand it. And the Rangers pick up a run right there.
So when you have a hitter that drives in runs with the frequency that Bobby Wilson does, it scares a pitcher.
You got to be careful.
Knows he's got to make a great pitch, and it got Iwakuma to throw a wild pitch.
He still got one out there for Bobby, though.
Yep.
Bobby's had good at bats. You got to think he's definitely energized to have joined the Rangers, get a chance to share catching duties with Chris Jimenez. In the middle of a playoff push right here. Great opportunity for him, and he's feeling good about the job he's doing.
2 balls, no strikes to count. Just on the outside corner by a hair. 2-1.
Being pretty careful to him. First base open, 2-0 count. Throws him a breaking ball, just barely catches the corner.
Wilson now 5 out of 9 in a Ranger uniform with 4 RBI. Make that 5 RBI. 2-1 pitch. Out of play to the right. 2 balls and 2 strikes. When Bobby came over from the Tampa Bay Rays on the waiver claim, he was hitting 145. That was in 25 games, 16 of them as a starting catcher. At 4 RBI, and in 3 starts with the Rangers, he has more than doubled his RBI total. Full count. Wilson trying to get aboard. Joins Shin-Soo Choo here in the 4th inning. The ladder to Shields, waiting in that on-deck circle. Choo stepping his lead off out there at second, right at the bottom of your screen. Payoff pitch is on the way. Got him swinging. Bobby couldn't hold back, and that'll do it for the Rangers. They do get a run, though, a run on 2 hits, and they leave 1. After 3.5, it's now the Rangers 3 and the Mariners 1. Southwest is teaming up with Dave Campbell's Texas Football to bring you the most comprehensive coverage of highlights and scores from across Texas every Friday night throughout the season. Joining us every Friday at 7 p.m. starting August 28th on Fox Sports Southwest Plus. Well, Cole Hamels back to the hill, now has that 3-1 advantage. And again, Hamels getting 3 runs or more of support. Pretty close to unbeatable. We'll see if that holds true here tonight. Robinson Cano to start things off. Jesus Montero and Austin Jackson to follow. Cano struck out the first time that he faced Hamels. A sweeping breaking ball outside for ball 1.
Well, the Mariners aren't having a great season, but at this point in time in the season, they've got 4 or 5 hitters who are swinging the bats pretty well. Cano's one of them. Cano got off to a terrible start, but he's been swinging the bat much better over the last month and a half. In fact, he's swinging the bat just like he always does. The numbers he's put up over the last 40-plus games, pretty much his typical numbers, so he's overcome a terrible start. Nelly Cruz is hot. Montero's doing a nice job since he got called up. Seager's hot. Even Trumbo. Trumbo was really cold when he first got here. He's been swinging a pretty good bat. And Cole looks like he's got some pretty good stuff tonight, too.
That he does. 2-2 to Cano. We're talking about Cano in the last 29 games going back to the 1st of July. He's hit .330. Hamels to the wind. Did he go? No, he did not. Abel Scott with the call down there at third. It's a full count.
Yeah, one of the reasons the Mariners got off to a bad start was Cano, after 60 games, was hitting .237 with 19 runs batted in. That's 2 months into the season. Probably never had a 2-month stretch like that in his career.
Cool foul. Maybe November and December one year.
Well, when he was playing back in the Dominican Republic, maybe, when he was a youngster.
Actually, it was probably January and February somewhere. Another 3-2 pitch. And another foul ball. Cano, and we mentioned the flip-flopping of Cano and Cruz in the lineup. It's made a significant difference for the Mariner club, too. For Cano, as a cleanup hitter, he's been batting .351. In the air to left field, carrying pretty well, but Hamilton with room. 1 out. Next will be Jesus Montero. But once the sun goes down here and the air starts getting a little heavier in Seattle, this is an ideal pitcher's ballpark. It's really tough, especially to hit the ball to left field, to get it to carry out of here. Not much breeze tonight, but left field, for whatever reason, gets extremely large. Right center field, Delino to Shields, Shin-Soo Choo. It's Choo making the call on the catch for 2 outs. Well, Montero skies out. He's now 1 for 2 as he heads back to the Mariner dugout. Austin Jackson now will come up. Jackson went down swinging the first time that he faced Hamels. A strike. Mariners came off the road trip. Their last stop was Colorado. They won the first 2 games against the Rockies, and then had a tough loss in 11 innings in the finale of that 3-game series. But they got their offensive stroke going at Coors Field, which is no surprise. A lot of teams get their offense going in Coors Field. Was Cole Hamels' 60th pitch of the night as he works with 2 outs here in the 4th. 2-2. To the wind, the 2-2, and just missed. 3-2 to Austin Jackson. If Jackson extends this inning, Mark Trumbo will be next. Here's Trumbo. Now the payoff pitch. Lost him. Hamels visibly upset with himself.
Yeah, that's not a guy he wants to walk. 2 outs, nobody on. The guy hitting 250. That's a guy he wants to go right after and get.
Well, now Cole trying to regroup mentally, get ready to face Trumbo. Trumbo grounded into a double play his first trip to the plate. Changeup, 1 ball, no strikes. Trumbo came over from the Diamondbacks, part of a 6-player trade back on June the 3rd. Last 8 ball games, as Tom told you, Trumbo has picked it up, a 400 average. And now they've got Jackson, who started to second and then reversed course, and it was too late. And Bobby Wilson guns him down at first. A little pickoff for Bobby Wilson. And the Mariners are out in the 4th. Nothing doing. We'll go to the 5th inning. Rangers by a pair.
And the M's taking place as we speak. 3-1 Rangers on top, and Texas in search of its 5th straight win. They've also won 7 of their last 8, and the guy who just grounded out says the most important thing when you're playing good baseball is to really just not think about it.
Just continue to have fun, really not look at it as, you know, we're streaking or anything like that. Just kind of like we're playing good baseball, and you know, every day is important right now. So I think the energy level is high. Every game is important, like I said, and, you know, we're kind of, you know, putting it all out there on the field.
So the key, guys, is just don't think about it. Just do it, right?
Sounds good to me, huh? Good advice, if you can do it. Rougned Odor up there now with 1 out and the base is empty. Odor has singled and struck out tonight. Rangers with 5 hits this evening. The Mariners with 4. Rangers leading 3-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Odor backing out, taking that big deep breath and exhaling. Two and 1. Rougned We talked about since his recall from AAA Round Rock back on the 15th of June. Been one of the leading hitters on the Ranger team, and he has done just about everything you can possibly imagine. Since coming back, he has hit .345. He has 7 of his 8 home runs in that time period. 28 RBI. That's in 41 games. Here's a guy that when he was sent out at the end of April was hitting 144.
Yeah. It's an amazing turnaround. Rangers are hoping that Leonys Martin will do the same thing. He went 4 for 4 and hit a couple home runs last night. So we'll see.
Couple of ground balls, 2 outs. Prince Fielder will be next. Well, folks, on Tuesday, August the 18th, Rangers are outfitting the first 7,500 kids 13 and under with a back-to-school backpack. Come on out to Globe Life Park, watch the Rangers take on these Seattle Mariners, and get your kids geared up for school. Tickets are available at TexasRangers.com. Come on out and get those backpacks for back to school.
At AAA last night, Martin had a couple of home runs. Joey Gallo had 3 between the two of them. They had 5 home runs in a 6-1 game. That's doing some damage. Joey Gallo's hit 3 home runs in a minor league game 4 or 5 times. Well, nothing new for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like he'd gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start at AAA after he got sent back down, but apparently that's over.
Yeah, the hits last night got his average up over 200 finally at AAA.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Prince.
Minor leaguer that seems like he's really taken off is Lewis Brinson. He was a #1 draft choice a while back. Had a big year at A-ball, was sent up to AA a week and a half ago, and he's pounding the ball there too. Hit a home run to win the game last night. Even though the Rangers have traded a number of prospects, they've got plenty left in the minor leagues. In fact, most of the best ones are still left. The thing everybody likes about Brinson is he's a right-hand hitter. Rangers have a lot of left-hand hitters at the big league level. Hoping to run some right-hand hitters through the minor leagues. Brinson is one of their top guys.
It's funny how that goes in cycles. The Rangers used to be right-handed heavy.
Yeah.
Looking for left-handers.
Yeah.
Now it's the other way around. Prince takes outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fielder, a couple of ground balls tonight, 0 for 2. As he stands at the plate, he's hitting .325 for the year. Iwakuma back to the plate. Got him swinging. Pulled the string on the breaking ball, and Iwakuma with 5 strikeouts. We played half the ball game. It remains the Rangers 3, the Mariners 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. Martin Perez, the young left-hander on the hill, 1-2 the record for Martin, and he'll be opposed by another left-hander, Mike Montgomery. 4-4 for Montgomery. Straightaway center field, Mark Trumbo going deep, and it is gone. A low-line drive that just kept on carrying. Mark Trumbo with his 4th home run, and the Mariners had cut the Ranger lead to 3-2.
Well, Trumbo coming into the game was 12 for his last 30, a 400 average. Even though he got off to a terrible start, he's swinging it right now. And he's one of those guys that can get the bat on the ball. He swings at a lot of pitches. He won't take a walk. Look like got a pitch he liked right here. Low fastball down and in. Pretty good job of hitting to be able to drive that pitch 400 feet to dead center field. Shows you the power that Trumbo has.
No, it's now a 1-run game. Logan Morrison, who doubled into the alley in right center field his first time, takes low for ball 1. Morrison now a .223 hitter. Again, he has had as much success against Cole Hamels as anybody. Came in hitting it over 380, and that double is going to raise it even more. Rips that one foul. Morrison now 9 for 22 in his career. Mark Trumbo, his first home run against Cole Hamels. Well, the Mariners are their 124th home run of the year. Slowly hit to Mitch Moreland. He will underhand to Hamels covering. That is out number 1. Well, Mike Zunino coming up. Before we tell you about him, let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Mike Zunino up with 1 out and the base is empty. He takes strike 1 at the knees from Cole Hamels.
He swung at 3 changeups out of the strike zone, so he says, I'm going to take one, and it was a strike. He threw the changeup for a strike that time. Still ready to hit the fastball, though, even though he'd seen 4 straight changeups.
The ladder to Shields over into right center field. He takes that catch. No 2 gone. Our Kubota Power Stats, we're talking about pitching. How about Clayton Kershaw? His scoreless inning streak came to close today in 37. That was against the Pirates. Gave up a home run on the first pitch of the ball game. One of 6 pitchers with multiple 30 or more scoreless inning streaks. Adel Marte takes inside as he dances out of the way of that Cole Hamels pitch. Marte had an infield single his last time up, 1 for 2. Two balls, no strikes. Marte out of the batter's box momentarily, now back in. Hamels missing badly. 3 balls, no strikes to Marte.
Good stuff tonight, but not probably his top night for command of his stuff.
And he misses a 4-pitch walk to the 21-year-old.
Yeah, 4-pitch walk to leadoff hitter. There's a couple of walks to guys that he's not trying to be careful to necessarily, Jackson and Marte.
Well, the tying runs on base with 2 outs here in the 5th inning. And Kyle Seager, the Mariner third baseman, is up there. Seager is 1 for 2. He has singled to right and struck out tonight. Hamels a check of first. Misses inside. And Bobby Wilson, a well-timed visit to the mound. Get a guy like Cole Hamels who likes to work quickly, but gets into a rut where he's thrown 5 out of the strike zone in a row. You know, that's not like him. So, well, give him an opportunity to kind of catch his breath and refocus. Find the answer he was looking for, getting back into the strike zone. And Seager calls time as he was tired of waiting. Seager for the year a .270 mark. 16 home runs. As he takes low and outside, 2 balls, no strikes. Tough spot here. You've got Seager, who hits better against left-handers than he does against right-handers. And Nelson Cruz follow him in the order.
Oh, baby.
Got under it to right field. Shin-Soo Choo calling out Rougned Odor, who was 120 feet out into right field. And that will do it. Leadoff home run by Mark Trumbo gets the Mariners on the board. After 5, Rangers now lead 3-2. Tonight's jackpot is $400 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Matt Yetherman from Arlington will win $400. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Matt will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Adrian Beltre leading things off. Rangers now have their lead cut to 1. And the first pitch to Adrian is a fastball right down the middle for strike 1. Beltre is lined to left and tapped back to the mound. Beltre, a .266 average. Hits a sharp ground ball just foul, just outside the bag at third. 0-2 the count. Adrian has always fared well against Iwakuni. He came into the game 11 for 30. That's a .367 average. Hit the ball sharply to left when he lined to Trumbo back in the first. Breaking ball, call strike 3, and Adrian knew it.
Iwakuma's got good stuff as he's winding down his outing tonight. Retired the last 6 guys, 3 of them on strikeouts. Breaking ball right at the bottom of the strike zone. Threw a lot of pitches early in the game. First couple innings, he had over 50 pitches. Had good success against the top of the order. Bottom of the order's got him a little bit.
Well, 1 away, Mitch Moreland singled his last time up and scored. And that was the last time the Rangers have put a run on the board in the 4th inning. Sharply hit, but Morrison back behind the bag has it. 2 gone. Well, as time has gone on now, Iwakuma really settling in. He has retired 8 straight, and the last man to get a base hit against him will come to the plate in the person of Josh Hamilton. Hamilton sliced a line drive to left field that Trumbo came on. He kind of got crossed up with. Went off the tip of his glove as he slid to make the catch. Josh getting a single. Well, Hamilton 1 for 2. He struck out the other time. Might be the first fastball that's been hittable that he's seen tonight. 0-1.
Yeah, might be, yeah, definitely the first hittable one. He hadn't seen many of them. And if he did hit it and went the other way, he's got a huge hole on the left side of the infield to shoot for.
It's all the way to the backstop. 1 ball and 1 strike. Look at the extreme overshift by the Mariners. Kyle Seager, the third baseman, has moved over to play in the middle of that overshift. He's playing in a second base position. And Josh swinging over the top. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Hamilton at 248 with the average. Pulled by Cano into right field, a base hit.
That's finding a hole right there with a shift on. Hit a ground ball, no one could touch it. Halfway between Cano, who was playing out in right field, and Seager. Waited on that one, and it was just high enough. So he got enough of the bat on it to hit it hard enough to get it by Cano. Of course, out there, if Cano backhanded it, he wasn't going to be able to throw Josh out at first base anyway.
Oh, Josh, a pair of hits tonight. He is 2 for 3, and it brings up Shin-Soo Choo, who has a double and a run scored in 2 at-bats. Choo with the average at 240. Breaking ball just nibbles on the inside corner for strike 1. Choo didn't think so. $14 home runs, 50 driven in. Iwakuma, a check of first. 0-2 to Choo. With 2 outs in the second inning, Choo doubled into the left field corner. Elvis Andrus was then hit by a pitch, and Bobby Wilson delivered a hooking 2-run double off the glove of Mark Trumbo. Got the Rangers going. They put another run on the board in the 4th. One ball, 2 strikes. That was pitch number 100 for Iwakuma. Most he has thrown this year in a ball game, 112. So this not exactly uncharted territory for him. Still 1-2. .112 pitches for Iwakuma came back on July 23rd. No decision against the Tigers. Last time out against the Twins, Iwakuma had 8 1/3 scoreless innings and gave up a solo home run to tie the game in the 9th. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hamilton at first. Hector Ortiz helping Josh read the signs from Tony Beasley. Logan Morrison holding the inside of the bag. Three balls and 2 strikes. So now with 2 outs, Hamilton will get a running start. Choo trying to extend this inning, as he did in the second. Elvis Andrus waiting in the on-deck circle, He will be next. Iwakuma ready. Hamilton on the move. The payoff pitch. Chopped up the middle. Cano on the run. Takes a strong underhand throw to first, and that'll do it. No runs a hit, one left for the Rangers. We have finished 5.5 in Seattle. Rangers 3, Mariners 2. Fans will be treated to a Medical Center Arlington Adrian Beltre bobblehead. Join us to see the Rangers take on the Rays that day and get your collectible bobblehead. Visit TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS for your tickets. Well, Cole Hamels back to work here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Nelson Cruz, Robinson Cano, and Jesus Montero. There's a drive off the bat of Cruz deep to left field. We have a tie ball game. Cruz with his 32nd home run of the year.
Looked like a high changeup. I don't know if Nelly got all of that one. Got enough of it to hit it into the bullpen. Nelly hitting close to 400 in his last 25 ball games. And he's nailing left-handed pitching at about a 400 clip this year as well. It's a high changeup, about belt high, and definitely not where Cole was trying to throw that pitch.
Yep. So Cruz now with a 17-game hitting streak, his 32nd home run, and we've got a brand new ball game. Robinson Cano has struck out, flying to left field. Taking all the way, it's ball 2. Now, the Mariners this year have scored about 45% of their runs as a result of home runs. They have scored 2 of their 3 tonight on solo home runs.
You can tell Cole's command is not quite there tonight. He's thrown 82 pitches, 46 strikes, 36 balls. And that's definitely not the ratio he's looking for. And earlier in the game was a little bit better. As the game has gone on, his command has left him a little bit. He's had a couple of walks that you normally would never see him have. 2-out walk. Walked the leadoff hitter, walked Austin Jackson in the middle of the game. In fact, both walks came with 2 outs.
That ball's hit well to left center field. The Shields is back at the wall. That's gone. Robinson Cano to left center field. And Cruz and Cano have turned this game around. The Mariners lead it 4-3. Back-to-back blasts by Cruz and Cano.
3 home runs in the last 7 hitters. I guess, Buzz, in addition to the command as far as throwing balls and strikes, command in the strike zone has not been exactly what he would want either. The pitch to Cano, pitch to Nelly were both strikes, but not the kind of strike he was trying to throw.
Montero trying to make it 3 in a row. No balls, 2 strikes. So Cruz and Cano hitting in the order back-to-back, go back-to-back. And down the right field side, just foul off the bat of Montero. It's no balls, 2 strikes. Yeah, and that's the command we talk about, Tom. That control, being able to throw it in the strike zone. Command, being able to cut that strike zone up and throw it in the quadrant or whatever part of the strike zone you want to. And that's what Cole has not had in this ballgame as much. He's going to slice his way back into the seats. Most pitchers will talk about dividing the strike zone up into 4 quadrants: high and tight, low and tight, high and away, and low and away. And some pitchers will even cut the middle part of that 4 quadrant area out. Just keep it out of the center of the plate. Another pop foul back our way. Still 0-2 to Montero, who is 1 for 2 tonight. Well, the Mariners with 3 solo home runs have 126 for the year. They came in 5th in the American League. Got him swinging. Well, Hamels comes back after the 2 home runs to get Montero 1 away, and Austin Jackson will be next. For Hamels, his 6th strikeout of the night. Jackson has struck out and walked. Ball 1. Austin Jackson came over from the Tigers, and it's a base hit by Elvis into left center field. Jackson with very good speed aboard here with 1 out. You say that Mariners were looking for a leadoff man when they got Austin Jackson. And they think that now Jackson is more of a middle of the order, if not a little bit lower, 6th place hitter, something like that. That's where he is tonight.
They probably just didn't walk enough and have a high enough on base percentage. If he was going to lead off, he was going to have to hit 300. Fastball, inside part of the plate. Mariners had some pretty good swings tonight at fastballs.
Now Mike Maddox out to talk to Cole Hamels. Spencer Patton, meanwhile, up and throwing in that Ranger bullpen. Well, Hamels has given up 8 hits. And the Mariners have scored in each of the last 2 innings. So for a guy that came out busting the fastball at 96, 95, 96, occasionally 97 tonight, Cole Hamels, you wouldn't have expected this to happen to him as the game went on, but it has. A 1 on, 1 out. Here is Mark Trumbo. And Trumbo had the home run leading off the 5th inning to dead center field. Hamels well aware of Austin Jackson's ability to steal bases. Trumbo 1 for 2, a .249 average. Just off the outside corner. Remember Trumbo with the Los Angeles Angels. Used to get off to great starts every year, it seemed like. He'd hit 20, 25 home runs in the first 4 months of the season and then go dormant. The Angels just finally felt, man, we can't put up with that. Dealt him on to the Diamondbacks, and still a very bona fide power hitter. 2-0 the count. Out of play to the right. Hey, one thing, if you're a right-handed power hitter, coming up here to Seattle has really been the graveyard of a lot of right-handed power hitters.
A lot of people thought that might curtail Nelly Cruz's home run production. He had 40 last year in a great ballpark in Baltimore.
Jackson on the move. The throw to second, not in time. A great throw by Bobby Wilson. He put it right where it had to be, but Austin Jackson just in under the tag by Rougned Odor.
Yeah, this park has not stopped Nelly Cruz. When you hit him like Nelly does, this park is a big park, tough park, but not for him. Great camera shot of the front foot of Austin Jackson beating a very strong throw from Bobby Wilson.
Thirteenth stolen base for the Mariners center fielder. He's in scoring position. Count is 2 balls and 2 strikes to Mark Trumbo. Yeah, and even Nelly, I think the breakdown, I believe that last home run he hit off Cole Hamilton was his 8th here at home, so he's at 24 on the road.
Yeah.
He's been held a little bit in check.
Yeah, I guess he has. I didn't realize it was that low a total.
3-2. There's Nelly. Of course, we've still got 2 months of the season left. We could very well change that quickly. Poked out a play by Trumbo, and the count remains 3-2. Trumbo back in. Hamels checking second. Line shot over the head of Chris Woodward, the first base coach down there. Inning by inning. See, the third inning was fairly stressful for Cole. And this one, only 2 innings, the 6th and the 3rd being over 20 pitches. Now time call. Trumbo asked for time and backed out. Hamels now set. Trumbo is probably not real happy he swung at that pitch. Down and into him, and he chopped it right off his front foot.
Yeah, Trumbo's not going to walk very much. He's only walked 20 times this year. He's not the kind of guy that's going to strike out 180 or 190 times. He'll strike out his share, but got some pretty good hand-eye coordination. He can make contact with pitches that other guys might swing and miss at. Actually, probably hurts him sometimes. He swings the pitches out of the strike zone and can't hit them very hard, and they end up being outs anyway.
Got him swinging with the changeup, and that is out number 2. No, Trumbo down swinging. Seven strikeouts for Cole Hamel. Logan Morrison striding to the plate is 1 for 2 tonight. Morrison double leading off the 3rd inning. Came in to score on the balk committed by Cole Hamels. That's how the Mariners got their first run. 1 ball, no strikes. Morrison a .223 average at the moment. 12 home runs, 36 RBI. The 12 home runs more than Morrison had all of last year. The most he's had since 2011. Good breaking ball. It's one of the few we've seen for Cole that was a called strike. He hasn't thrown that pitch as much tonight. Last time Morrison had more than the 12 home runs was when he was with the Florida Marlins. He had 23 back in 2011. hard hit, but right at Rougned Odor. That will do it. But Cruz and Cano start the game or the inning off by going back-to-back. 2 runs on 3 hits. We'll go to the 7th, 4-3 Seattle. Doubled in a couple of runs in the 2nd inning, just out of the reach of Mark Trumbo. Rangers on top 2-0. Then Mark Trumbo, an inning, a couple of innings later, line drive home run that got out of here. They made it a 3-2 Ranger lead. Then Nelly Cruz touched off the 6th inning with a solo home run. That was followed by Robinson Cano's blast to left center field. So back-to-back jacks, and the Mariners turn things around. They now lead it 4-3 as Hisashi Iwakuma is back out to start the 7th inning. Well, Iwakuma, despite throwing 104 pitches as of now, out there to start.
Yeah, and early in the game, it looked unlikely that he would pitch in the 7th inning.
Let's take strike 1.
Talk about throwing a lot of strikes. He's thrown 76 out of 105 pitches for strikes.
Oh, 1 to Elvis. Got him on the fist, Iwakuma. And, you know, his command, he's been mixing pitches the same way that he did earlier, but his command has really gotten good in the last 3 or 4 innings. He started moving the ball from side to side and commanded the strike zone very well. Seth Smith has come into the ballgame to take over in left field for Mark Trumbo. Ground ball wide to third, Seager. A full 360, and he throws Elvis out. One of the better third basemen around, Kyle Seager, for out number 1. Now Bobby Wilson coming up.
Yeah, he catches the ball, then uses the slide really to get back up on his feet to turn around and make the throw.
Here's Wilson, who had that 2-run double that we showed you. Last time up, struck out against Iwakuma. 1 ball, no strikes. Wilson for the year now hitting in an even 200 and an even 500 for the Rangers. He's 5 for 10. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now 2-1. Talked about Iwakuma against the Rangers. He's had 6 career starts before tonight in this ballpark against Texas. 5 of them have been quality starts. He's gone 3-1 with an ERA just a shade over 3. last 4 starts, going back to the beginning of 2013, he is 2-0 with a 2.20 ERA. They've not been able to solve him in this ballpark particularly. 2-2 to Wilson. Charging Marte on the run. That is out number 2. Well, folks, Wednesday dollar hot dogs are a long-time Globe Life Park tradition, and the next dollar hot dog night takes place on Wednesday, August 19th. Rangers are taking on the Seattle Mariners. Visit TexasRangers.com for your tickets, or you can call 972-RANGERS if you prefer. That guy looks like he needs a dollar hot dog.
Blues Brothers.
Delino to Shields, 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of ground outs and a strikeout. Strike 1. Delino now, the average down to 262. Just 1 for his last 16. He checks his swing on that pitch that was down. Iwakuma working a little more quickly now with the 1-1. It's been a tough matchup tonight for Delino to Shields. It looks like Iwakuma's been a step or two out of sync with Delino on his thinking. Ever since that first at bat when Iwakuma got him with a 3-2 splitter. Looked like Delino's been trying to adjust to Iwakuma and hasn't made the adjustment that worked. Two-two pitch on the way. Hit well to right field, but that's going to slice back and out of play. First of 3 here from Safeco Field. The next 2 games will be day games. On at 3:20, 3:10, I should say, back in Texas time. Tomorrow afternoon, Sunday afternoon. Tomorrow, Martin Perez with the start. There's a drive to right field. Cruz toward the line and back a few steps. He has it. Rangers gone in order. We'll take the stretch here at Safeco Field with the Mariners leading the Rangers 4-3. Rangers with 3 over the weekend here in Seattle. Finish up here Sunday afternoon, and And it's an off day in Minnesota. Take on the Twins starting Tuesday night from Target Field. Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday afternoon. Then back home for 6 against the Rays and the Seattle Mariners before heading off to Detroit. Cole Hamels' night has finished after 6 innings of work. He'll be replaced by the 27-year-old right-hander Spencer Patton. Patton turning things around the last couple of times out. Well, he has really been solid. 2 1/3 innings his last 2 times out. And he has given up exactly nothing. 4 strikeouts for the year now. His 21st appearance this evening. ERA rather unsightly, but that happened before the last 2. Dealing here to Mike Zunino to start things off. It'll be Zunino, then back to the top of the order, Marte and Seager. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cole Hamels, 6 innings of work tonight, 8 hits, 4 runs, including 3 solo home runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Interesting notes on Hamels that in his 2 August starts now, he has allowed 5 home runs, 2 against the Giants, 3 here tonight against the Mariners. In 9 starts in June and July, he allowed just a total of 2 home runs. And Zunino, the victim of a strikeout from Spencer Patton. 1 gone.
And 2 of those 5 home runs came to left-hand hitters. Cano today, 1 of them to the Giants. Spencer picks up where he left off. 3 pitches, all of them right around the edges of the strike zone to Zunino.
Del Marte trying to bunt his way aboard and fouls it off.
Spencer evidently went in and talked to the skipper after one of his bad outings. Said, "Don't give up on me. I'm better than this." Danny told him, "Don't worry, I'm not going to give up on you. I believe in you." And he backed up the conversation with a pretty good performance the last few times out.
He jams Marte, and Elvis Andrus will throw him out 2 away. Now before Kyle Seager comes up, let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Spencer Patton has gotten the first 2 outs here very quickly in the 7th inning. Now Kyle Seager, 1 for 3, steps to the plate. Yeah, to hear Jeff Bannister talk about that conversation. That was the game against the Astros, the first game of that series. Spencer came in and gave up a couple of runs on 2 hits in 2/3 of an inning. The skipper said he walked in the next day and said, "That will never happen again." And he believed it. So, and Spencer,
so far he's right.
Yeah, and Spencer, as you said, Tom, has made it stand up. Check swing, and Seager now down on the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes. I think what he was talking about mostly was the base on balls that really set that 2 runs up. But sounds better the other way. In the teeth of the shift, and there's Odor on to first. A 1-2-3 inning for Spencer Patton. So the Mariners gone in order. We have finished 7 in Seattle. Mariners leading the Rangers 4-3. Here tonight is Nelson Cruz. The 32nd home run of the year for Cruz off of Cole Hamels in the 6th inning. Started that inning off, and he is now second in the major leagues with those 32 home runs, trailing Mike Trout by 1. And coming in to pitch now for the Seattle Mariners, 38-year-old left-hander Joe Beimel. Masashi Iwakuma finished after 7 innings of work. Beimel appearing in his 37th game for the Mariners, 2-1 with a 2.55 ERA, and the league hitting just 240 against the veteran left-hander. Beimel was in spring training with the Rangers 3 years ago. Didn't make the ball club and ended up having Tommy John surgery at the end of that spring training. He is back now, and this is his second tour of duty with the Mariners. And he will face Rougned Odor, Prince Fielder, and Adrian Beltre. Odor 1 for 3 tonight. First inning single. He's also struck out, grounded to short. One ball, no strikes. That bunt is something that Rougned's adding to his arsenal a little more often. Beimel back to the plate. Left-hander fields, throws, and into the dirt. Morrison can't dig it out. Odor legging it out. So he is aboard to start the Ranger 8th inning.
Beimel kind of took his time going after this bunt, and then knew he had to hurry. Threw it a little bit down low. First baseman couldn't handle it. He might have beat it out anyway. I'm going to argue maybe he was in the baseline. Inside the baseline.
Right.
Let's see.
Yeah, there's an argument. He was outside the runner's lane, and the ball did hit him, but it looked like he was already to the bag when the ball hit him.
I think he was going to beat it out anyway. You know, you look where the base is, and we've talked about this before, and where the line is. It's pretty hard to run on the right side of that line. And technically, if you run on the right side of the line, you have to reach back with your left foot to touch the base.
Well, that's going to be a base hit, a bunt hit for Odor to start things off. Now Prince Fielder. Fielder 0 for 3. Beimel pumps in strike 1. Fielder's grounded out twice and struck out against Iwakuma. Iwakuma had 6 strikeouts tonight and no walks. Beimel's got him picked off.
Yeah, that's some kind of
yeah, it sure is.
He picked me off, and I'm sitting up in the press box. When you got Prince and Adrian coming up, that's a tough one to get picked off on.
Well, I know the look from first base has to be different than what you would see on tape, but that's not a brand new move. He's been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
So now base is empty and 1 away. 1 ball, 1 strike to Fielder. Prince a .324 hitter as he faces Beimel. Left-hander to the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Fielder over the years has had pretty good success against Beimel. He's gone 5 for 15. He's mixed in a home run. Left-hander, a belt high set. 2-2. Bimal, you can see, leading the American League in pickoffs this year. He has one more than Eovaldi and Miley and Quintana.
He's pretty good for a relief pitcher who pitches 1 inning at a time. The other guys are starters, have a lot more base runners, a lot more opportunities.
Fielder drives it to left and deep. Back at the wall, Smith, and reaches up to make the grab. Prince gave it a good ride the opposite way and came up about 5 feet short. That is out number 2. It up just above the strike zone to drive that ball, and that is going to be it for Joe Bimal. So Bimal on to get the 2 left-handers. And he had to use a pickoff to get Odor. Gets Fielder on the long fly, and that's going to do it for him. So Floyd McClendon going to the bullpen. He wants a right-hander to come on in. Bimal gone, and we will take a timeout from Safeco Field with the Mariners leading the Rangers by 1. Fan photo. Our selection this evening comes to us from Judy. Judy, thanks very much. A great picture, and if you folks would like to have yours considered for our air, just to use hashtag Southwest Data Strong Fan, and your photo might be selected to be aired during an upcoming broadcast. This is all brought to you by the good folks at T-Mobile. Tom Wilhelmsen is on now to take over. The right-hander will face Adrian Beltre with the bases empty and 2 away here in the 8th inning. Wilhelmsen appearing in his 32nd ball game. He had kind of a rough streak, got sent out to AAA Tacoma to work on things. He was down there the first part of July until about a week left in the month. Came back and has been lights out since. Adrian Beltre 0 for 3 tonight. High drive deep to left field. If that's fair, it is gone. It is foul.
That ball had to be fouled by 6 inches.
Oh, goodness.
I thought it was going to come down and hit the foul pole.
Looked like it was trying to go back toward the foul pole, too, in foul territory, coming back to it.
Right here, it looks like it's going to hit the foul pole.
Man.
Boy, that's less than 6 inches foul.
A long strike, and everybody in the ballpark exhaling. 2-1 to Adrian. Wilhelmsen back to the plate. Pretty good slider that time. 2-2. Beltre 2 for 8 in his career against Wilhelmsen. Right-handers ready. Breaking ball foul back, boy, Adrian. trying to tie this game up on the one foul ball that almost hit it, and on this swing also. Classic Beltre going down to one knee. Again, the 2-2. Adrian is lined to left, grounded back to the mound, and struck out. Sam Dyson, the right-hander. Sam Freeman, the left-hander, in that Ranger bullpen. Wilhelmsen back to the plate. Got him swinging. Good slider. Beltre gone, so the Rangers. No runs a hit, nobody left. After 7.5, it remains the Mariners 4 and the Rangers 3.
If they want to take the opener of this 3-game series here in Seattle. This is the first of 3 between these two teams, and the final 2 will be day games here in Seattle. Tomorrow's game getting underway just after 3 o'clock Texas times. There you see a couple of the hot-hitting principals in this one. Robinson Cano and Rougned Odor have both been red hot since the All-Star break, both on display tomorrow as the Rangers and M's play Game 2 of this 3-game set right here on Fox Sports Southwest. A big shout-out to AT&T U-verse for getting us up to speed on Game 2.
All right, Emily, Nelson Cruz leading off the bottom of the 8th inning against Spencer Patton. Cruz started off the 6th inning by homering to left field off of Cole Hamels. That was the first of 2 back-to-back home runs. Spencer Patton throws a fastball right on by him. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Patton came on to have a very quick and easy 1-2-3 7th to strike out and a couple of ground outs. Two and 2. Patton to the wind. Cruz fights it off foul. Mariners 4 runs on 8 hits tonight. Rangers 3 runs on 7 hits. Mariners, though, have 3 solo home runs. Cruz, Cano, and Trumbo. Fly ball to right. Chu jogging over to his left. 1 gone. We'll take you back to the AT&T U-verse rewind. Robinson Cano following up Nelson Cruz 6th inning home run. with his 12th of the year. A blast to left center field, and that has produced the current margin for the Mariners in this ballgame, a 4-3 Seattle lead. Cano now 12 home runs, 50 RBI. Patton starts him off with a slider that hangs outside for ball one. Spencer working quickly. And Cano, a broken bat, base hit to left field. Well, Cano now 2 for 4.
Yeah, Spencer's working quickly. Using a good fastball, good slider, throwing a lot of quality pitches too.
A 1 on, 1 out. Jesus Montero, the hitter. He's the DH. The Rangers looking for a ground ball at an infielder somewhere. Montero 1 for 3. Andrews and Odor at double play depth. Nice stop by Bobby Wilson. That ball in the dirt. Wilson, as you would figure, being raised in the Angels system under Mike Scioscia, a very technically sound catcher, as far as blocking balls and the like. Cano over at first, staring across the diamond to Rich Donnelly, the third base coach. 1 ball, no strikes to Montero. Now 2-0. Patton tried to hold the Mariners right where they are, give the Rangers a chance in the 9th, trailing by just 1. 2-1 on the foul ball. About Montero and his time at AAA this year, and he's done a pretty good job of using it wisely. He got himself together, especially lately. He was sent down for a couple of stints at AAA Tacoma. The last time was on July 21st, and he proceeded to hit .472 in his time there, 17 for 36 with 7 extra base hits. And the Mariners brought him back up, figuring, okay, he's ready to produce for us, and he has done very well since then. 2-1 as Patton sets. Now 3-1. Montero hitting 5th will be followed by Austin Jackson, the Mariners center fielder. Right center field, away from DeShields. It's down and to the wall. Cano being stopped at third. And probably a good idea because Rougned Odor made a very strong throw to Bobby Wilson. But it's a double for Montero, and the Mariners now runners at second and third and just 1 out. And Mike Maddox on his way to the mound.
Yeah, I think with 1 out, you hold the runner. That's a long throw for Rougned. You know, there's times where you think the second baseman doesn't have that big an arm, but it seems like nowadays most second basemen used to be shortstops. And even though Rougned's pretty far out in right center field, he uncorks a pretty good throw to the plate. Would have had Cano if he did try to score, that's for sure. Well, Montero's had some pretty good swings tonight.
2 for 4 now, a single and a double. That's what the Mariners were hoping for when they brought him back. Spencer Patton hoping for a strikeout or a pop-up here. Austin Jackson is 1 for 2 tonight at the plate. He is singled and walked, also a strikeout. Brad Miller has come off the bench to pitch run. Miller running for Montero. Rangers pulling the infield all the way in for Austin Jackson. And the first pitch from Patton in at the knees for strike one. Jackson's single was in the 6th inning, his last time up there. Singled solidly to center field. Check swing foul, and very quickly Patton with the advantage in the count. No balls, 2 strikes.
Pitch way up and in. I don't know how he kept, almost fought that off so it didn't hit him. Glanced it off Bobby Wilson. That's going to be a little susceptible to a slider away after that one.
No balls and 2 strikes to Austin Jackson. High fastball just to remind him that he had that. Now Patton sets again. There's the slider. And Wilson had to get down on the ground to block that one. 2-2.
That pitch was way outside. Nice job by Bobby. Looked like he caught that ball. Caught it right in the middle of his glove.
He did.
That's one way to block it. Just catch it. That's a pretty nice job of shifting your weight and getting out there on a pitch way outside in the other batter's box.
Got him swinging.
Good low fastball. Throw it right by him.
Patton got exactly what he was looking for. That strikeout. Jackson gone. There are 2 away now. And Seth Smith will be the hitter, and that's going to do it for Spencer Patton. So the left-handed hitting Smith due up. Jeff Bannister is going out. He wants the left-hander Sam Freeman to come into the ball game right here. So runners at 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. Spencer Patton finished. We have a pitching change underway at Safeco Field. We are back after this on Fox Sports Southwest. On demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices with MLB.TV Premium. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Well, Sam Freeman has come into the ball game, and Freeman has been a workhorse of late. This is his 41st appearance. Freeman taking over for Spencer Patton. He inherits runners at 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. Seth Smith is the hitter. The first pitch is a breaking ball for ball 1. And Cano down at 3rd base. And Brad Miller, the pinch runner, out at second. Smith is first at bat of the evening. Freeman pumps in a strike. 1-1. 255 with 9 home runs, 29 driven in for Smith. Formerly of the Oakland A's and San Diego Padres. 2-1. Sam Freeman worked in every game in the Houston series and the final game in the San Francisco series. He has been out there and in key situations. Another one here trying to keep the Mariners at bay. 2-2 to Smith now. Runners in scoring position and 2 outs. Smith almost a 300 hitter. Broken bat roller up the middle. Odor on the run, and Rougned throws out Seth Smith, and that'll do it. Nice job by Sam Freeman to get the jam shot roller. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. We're going to the 9th inning. The Mariners 4 and the Rangers 3. Trailing by 1, and the Mariners have turned to their 25-year-old closer, Carson Smith. Carson Smith, the right-hander out of Midland, Texas. He was the Mariners' 8th round selection in the 2011 draft. Went to Texas State down in San Marcos. Also spent some time in Grayson County in college. Was a second-team All-American at San Marcos in 2011. So he is on now. Smith with 10 saves out of 12 opportunities, and Mitch Moreland will be the first to face the right-hander.
Generally, you would see Fernando Rodney, but he's been replaced by Smith. Rodney had 16 saves, but he also had 5 blown saves. Lost the closer's role. Smith has done a nice job.
This is outside to Mitch. 2 balls, no strikes. Moreland a single in 3 trips. Mitch led off the 4th by singling. Came around to score a run on a wild pitch that inning. 2-0. Now 2-1. Carson Smith, that kind of funky delivery. He's got to be tough to pick up the first couple times you see him. Big, tall, 6'6" right-hander. And Mitch Moreland right back up the middle into center field, and the Rangers have their leadoff man aboard with the tying run here in the 9th inning.
Yeah, it's getting nowadays with the way teams shift. When you see a batter hit this kind of a ball, you're almost expecting to see a defensive player playing right up the middle. They might be shading Mitch a little bit to pull the ball, but not that much.
And the Rangers will go to the bench, and Ryan Strasburger, appearing in his second big league game now, is going to be a pinch runner for Mitch Moreland. So Strasburger carrying the tying run in this ball game. He's at first with nobody out. Josh Hamilton, the hitter.
I guess a lot depends on who the pitcher is, and chances are Smith is a little tougher to pull than some others. We've definitely seen a defensive player right up the middle against Mitch on a number of occasions. That ball was right over second base, and fortunately there wasn't a defensive player there.
1 ball, no strikes. Hamilton has singled each of his last 2 times to the plate. 2 out of 3 tonight. Batting average at .254 as he faces Smith. There's a strike. Right at the knees, 1-1. Boy, Cano on the right side of the diamond. Talk about trying to cut the hole down over there. He's only about 35 feet from the first base line.
If he hits a ground ball to third, they're going to have a hard time turning a double play.
Cano, Marte, not in time to get Hamilton, who was smoking it down the line. Josh able to leg out the return.
Not a hard hit ball. They do a nice job of turning it. Something on the throw, but looked like Josh beat it out. They're checking to see, but sure looked like he beat it out. That's about as fast as he can run, too. He was going down the line in a hurry. No challenge.
Lord McClendon got the word from his video people. No sense doing that. So Hamilton at first, now 1 out, and Shin-Soo Choo steps to the plate. Choo 1 for 3 tonight with a double and a run scored. First pitch in at the knees for strike 1. Choo's double was with 2 outs in the second inning. Took the ball the other way, doubled into the left field corner. And the breaking ball into him. 0-2. Well, now Choo's seen both the pitches that Carson Smith has to offer. Hamilton a short lead at first. Laid off that breaking ball. 1-2. And the way Choo is swinging the bat right now, or how he is at the plate, it's pretty tough to get him to swing at a bad pitch. He's very, very disciplined right now. Two out.
That was a hard cutter slider, and it breaks sharply. Started on the inside corner. You see why he struck out well over a batter per inning. Why he's won the closer's role.
Elvis Andrus 0 for 2. And a hit by pitch takes strike 1. Elvis hit by a pitch and scored in the second. Flied to right in the fourth. Grounded to third in the seventh inning. In the air to center field. Austin Jackson camped underneath it. Makes the catch. And that will do it. And the Rangers' 4-game winning streak has come to an end as the Mariners defeat Cole Hamels and the Rangers tonight by a final of 4-3 as Carson Smith gets his 11th save in 13 opportunities for Seattle. The Mariners utilizing 3 home runs, 3 solo home runs tonight for 3/4 of their run output, defeat the Rangers in the first game of this 3-game series. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with our final thoughts and get you all set for Rangers Live right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.